So quickly to go through where I'm at. In 1995, I was a net fisherman, and they banned the state on a state referendum. The use of gill nets were banned in the state of Florida, and so quickly found myself without a job. But as part of a retraining effort, they retrained us in Cedar Key to grow, to farm raise clams, to do aquaculture, to get away from catching the wild things and to grow them ourselves. So in every part of a clam life now we are involved in. We spawn them from mom and dad's and then work their ways right up to where we ship them all over the country now. So there's lots of great things about what we do. And the amazing part is after 17 years, I still love to do it. Even though we just felt the water, it's 50 degrees right now, I still got to get in it tomorrow and freeze my tush off. I still love to do it. I still love to go. I still love to farm clams, of all things. My thought process was to retire at 50, retire early, be able to retire at a time when I could go. I still had the energy to do stuff or whatever. And why I was like that, I think that's more of the proving to others that I'm successful. Hey, I can do this, and somewhere born in all that became an idol. It's that determined a lot of the outcome for the next 30 years of my life, and what I did and why I did it. And so I saved. I saved, and everything went into business, and everything went into growth. Everything went back into something to make whatever we had into something more. And I guess the other part is my family life has never been as good as it should have been because I was so driven by that. I became and probably still am, a workaholic. Work more than I should, and put that above the spiritual health of my family, the emotional health of my wife. Put it above almost everything. And so when I got married 17 years ago to Jen, she was Baptist, I was Catholic, and through a little bit of prodding from some others, we ended up at Seven Rivers as kind of a medium point. Started going to church there, and almost immediately took the pastor's class, and I refused to join. So for 9 years we attended, but we wouldn't join. And part of that was in the early stages. I didn't know. Ray had mentioned in the class that, this is for people that know Jesus, and I did not feel like I had that relationship yet. So I was not going to lie and join. So, but the another main part of that was I didn't want to give 10% of my money to the church. I didn't want to give 10% of something that I worked very hard for away. It's not something I'd ever heard of before, and it blew me away. I was like, no way. There's a lot of other things I can do with that 10% that'll help me out further. And maybe even said, that hey, I can invest it better than the church can invest it, or I can invest it better than God can deal with it. So, yeah. Unfortunately, that's not a very good thought, but it was mine. After those 9 years of not joining the church, slowly but surely God was working at my heart, and you could tell things were changing in my life. My view on certain things were changing, and we joined the church 9 years after we started going. I'd given it over to, hey, if I'm going to go to this church and I believe that Jesus is who he says he is, and the Bible is written by God, and that all these other things really are not that important. If I truly believe that, then retiring at 50 means nothing. My relationship with him means way more than that. During the last campaign, it kind of examined our hearts. There was a point in the sermon series in the More campaign where it was one of the pastors preached about the man that had so much wealth that he determined he was going to build more barns and store up more of his wealth and more of his things. And and it was a conviction point for me that I realized that that's what I was doing, that I was struggling with that, and it it opened my eyes to my own problems that I was struggling with. So is a second softening of my heart to determine that, hey, this this life isn't all about me and my success. It really has very little to do with that. Now what I desire to do with the money that God has entrusted me with, what God wants me to do with it. And so it's much easier to say, hey, it's not mine, it's yours. The act of giving is something more of a generosity. It's a love it's a desire to do what God's do something with what God's given me that will help someone other than myself, and that's a complete opposite of what it was not too long ago for me. So I think it's very easy to get caught up in I can get happiness with stuff, that I can find happiness by having the coolest truck in the parking lot, or that I can find happiness by being out on the boat and the fastest boat there is, or things like that. But and I'm sure everybody's had a piece of that, and it's such a fleeting moment of happiness in the whole realm of things that it just doesn't matter. So the only true happiness can come from that relationship with God, or understanding who you are through Jesus. No happiness can be found outside of that. I'm convinced of that. So find worth through the gospel. In the gospel, that you find worth through that God loved you enough to send His only Son to die for you. And if that's not something worth living for, then nothing is. So yeah, that's a beautiful picture of what the gospel is.